Now, so this is class 6, and this is your response to the last class, which is Max Beckmann, Christian Schad, and Felix Nussbaum. And we're going to start with a few of you who we didn't get to dealing with Manet and Degas. So we're going to start with Rebecca here. And I think I now have figured out how you can go from one screen to the other. So maybe a little bit later I'll try to do that. But for now, I'm going to go to the screen, the screen with your images. So I did. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go to the other area with your images. And oh, and Lucy, before I do that, thank you for the essay. And I'm glad you're here. Very glad. And you should adjust the camera. So that's it. That's it. Now I see you. I see you beautifully now. You get very excited, and then all of a sudden, all I see is your forehead. Okay, so I see you now perfectly, perfectly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, okay. So now I'm going to go to share screen, and this is what you should be seeing here. And so the first two images are Rebecca. So can you read what you wrote about this, or just tell us what you feel? Better,
Well,
better to read. Better to read if you can. You
yes,
should.
it's pretty brief. Both of these images before us, the boats and the dancers, are telling two different stories. And in the boat, you have a big barge, which you can see by the sea, and two fishermen who are trying to put out the fire on their boat. These fishermen have been painted very gesturally, and they're dealing the with the fire, but one questions whether they have made the fire, since so much of the red of it in the middle seems to be coming from maybe a torch that they have, but their boat is aflames and they are trying to save it. The two figures are painted very gesturally, and I feel that they're very much the balance of the boat itself. And your eye is drawn to the flames, and yellow is used beautifully through it. Yellow under the boat really gives you a perspective to the distance where there's other yellow. Let's see, what else do I have to say? It's a very spontaneous feeling, and it's very different than the other one I chose. Simon, the dance figures are not totally in the center, the Degas.
I don't know what you mean, but I can't move it.
You can't move it. Okay.
We can all
I'm
move
sorry.
it.
I can
We
barely.
can all move
I
it.
can barely get it on the screen.
We can
Okay.
all move it. Yeah.
Now, this painting by Degas is using a design to lead your eye into the class. Now, you cannot see the man who is in the center, but that's the dance master. And everything has converged in his design around this dance master. And he's using the ballet costumes beautifully. They're float around. And the other thing that lead your eye into the background of the painting. Now, the blacks in this are beautifully used. Look how the hair has jumps from one figure to another and carries your eye back to the mirror and then on into the other past the frilly tutus. They seem to be a corps de ballet, and I'm sure that they are a group of dancers who've come for a class. It's much lighter than Manet's painting, lighter in concept of the story and lighter in the way he uses the light.
Well said.
The eyes through the paintings are, your eye is carried through by their tutus and their gestures, whereas your eye follows through in the Manet more with the leg of the one forward figure, which carries your eye up to the man with the torch and on into the boat itself. Degas is sending a message that is a lot less urgent than in the other painting.
Well said.
You get the feeling in the painting by Manet, these things are happening fast and they're trying to save this particular boat. You can't see the man with the cane, who is the dance master, and that's unfortunate because everything, the way the floor has been done and the positions of the dancers lead your eye right to him, who is not the center, but the off center of the image. I wanted to say that I think the paintings represent two different classes of what people did in that time frame. For instance, the Manet is very much about the working man, and because Degas was rich and he could afford to concentrate, ballet is an upper class medium.
Well
It's
said. Well
not
said.
one that everybody says. And that's all I have to say.
Becky, what do you mean by gestural?
And which one was I talking about?
You said about the Manet that the figures are gestural. What do you
They
mean?
are, because you have a strong feeling that this frontal man has his foot on the ground and his arms are up trying to save what's going on. And the next man's hands are also up.
Yes.
Now, I think in the Degas, there is a great deal of gesture going on, but it's all united together to help the pictorial space.
Okay. Gestural generally means that the movement
Yeah, I had the same thing last
is a kind
week.
of blunt
But this
force.
week I got on. I could.
What did you say, Simon?
Lucy?
We have someone
Hey,
talking.
Lucy, could you mute your phone? Mute the screen.
Yeah, it's this Dory is trying to get on and cannot.
Lucy,
Did you hear me?
Lucy, could you
No.
mute?
I'm talking to you. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Dory is trying to get on this.
Oh, okay.
And cannot. So maybe you should send Renee to the rescue the way she did me last week.
And to me.
Okay. All right. I don't think I can do that.
Okay.
You have her email?
Dory, yeah.
Send me her email.
Except then I have to get off of this. Well, I guess I can do that.
Lucy,
Yeah.
send her email to Renee.
Okay.
Okay, and say to Renee that she needs the link.
And is Renee, I don't know what her email is.
Okay, her email is reneeDinnerstein@AOL.com.
Okay, at AOL. All right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, Rebecca.
You asked me about gesture.
So gestural.
Yes.
Usually means that the muscularity, the movement,
you should
muscularity of the movement is what you see first.
Well, I think in the Manet that comes out very strongly in the two figures.
Yes,
Their gestures are strongly pointing to what is the emphasis, which is the boat. Now,
yes,
in the other painting, their gestures are many different ballet positions, but they are all pulling your eye to the center, to the
yes,
dance master.
yes, but I'm thinking of it differently. I'm
Oh,
only saying this because I like the word that you used. In the Degas, it's more finessed. It's more finessed. It's more drawn
yes,
in a different
yes,
way. In
yes,
the Manet, you're absolutely right. It's more gestural. It's more blunt, more
Yeah.
blunt, more muscular, more muscular.
exactly. More muscular. And if you look at it close up, the brushstrokes are much stronger. There's a
Yes,
lot more finesse in the Degas
yes,
brushstroke.
yes, yes. Okay, okay. So, okay, that's great. So now we're going to go on to Carol, which
Okay.
is this. Okay.
Yes. Okay. These two paintings, two nudes, present very different nude figures, yet both present women who appear comfortable with their nudity and are very representative of the way these artists saw and painted the nude. The painting on the left is Reclining Woman by Egon Schiele. It's 67 by 38 inches and was painted in 1917. It's oil on canvas and is now in the Leopold Museum in Venice. Interestingly, from its provenance, it was quote, sold in 1939 and restituted in 1948, thus being part of the great Nazi art theft. The painting on the right is Nude by Pierre Bonnard. It's 31 by 16 inches and is dated 1941. It hangs in the Shikoku Village Gallery, which houses the collection of Tatsuo Kato in Shikoku, Japan. If you'll excuse me using the I in this, I think I chose this Bonnard because it feels like I discovered it, since it doesn't appear on any website and hangs in this relatively obscure but beautiful gallery designed by Tadao Ando, the great Japanese architect, and which I visited in September. Each of these paintings is very representative of the artist. The Schiele is provocative, as was he, but it is really a tour de force of the line. The woman seems to emerge from the sheet. The folds of the sheet and the outline of the woman are almost continuous, and the colors of the sheet and her flesh are the same. There is evidence that he added the sheet over her genitals to please the secession where she was exhibited. Even so, she is about as open and inviting as one can imagine, except for her left hand, which is bent almost in a claw-like shape and creates some tension in the painting. I start on the Bonnard by apologizing for the quality of the picture, as I'm the photographer and I took this while traveling with no intention of really using it this way. The only copy of the painting I could find was online from the gallery itself, and it's very small, but it is brighter. And of course, the actual painting shines and shimmers. It glows. It's an excellent example of Bonnard's obsession with color. Unfortunately, you can't really see it in this photo. It's attributed to 1941, which was very close to the end of his life and only a year before his wife, model, and muse Marthe died. It's impossible to say if it was painted in that year, as Bonnard kept many of his paintings for years, making small changes to them as he saw imperfections. And even if it was painted in 1941, it is his internal vision of Marthe, as she never aged in his paintings. He didn't paint directly from life, and she never posed for him.
Wait a minute. That's a beautiful point.
Thank you.
That, in other words, the wife never ages.
Right.
Wait till I tell Renee this. This is fantastic. What a fantastic point. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're all going to relay that.
Yes, yes. And I go on. She didn't, he just sketched her as she went about her life. And then he went to his studio and painted. In fact, she was 72 in 1941. And we
Wow, wow.
safely say that no 72-year-old woman actually looked like that nude, but she did in his eyes.
Oh,
Unlike Sheila, who posed his nudes, often very erotically, Bonnard sketched his wife as she lived and then painted from his sketches and his vision. This painting, like all his nudes, is a scene, not just a figure. She is at her dressing table and she seems to be considering her next move. Bonnard and his wife lived a very isolated life. So just as the garden and the landscape around their house was his vehicle for painting the light, the colors of nature, and the colors of nature, his wife was his vehicle for painting the colors of the interior. And Sheila, unlike Bonnard, presented this nude, like his other nudes, as a portrait focused on the beauty and reality of the body. That's it.
Oh, terrific, terrific. One very slight correction.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Leopold Museum is in Vienna.
What did I say?
Venice.
I thought you said
Venice. Oh, it is Vienna, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, it was just
tell me about the museum.
I wrote Vienna, even if I said Venice. Tell you about what?
Tell me about the other museum that's in Japan.
Well, there is this town. There's an actual village, Shikoku village, which is it's very interesting. It's a gathering. They pulled together many different types of houses, buildings, and you walk through this whole garden kind of village, and then at the very end is this beautiful modern gallery done by Tadeo Ando, who's really marvelous. And he has in this gallery a number of Western paintings, and he has some wonderful old ancient vessels. And it's quite small, and then it has beautiful, beautiful waterfalls outside and gardens.
Oh, well, do you know the name of it? The name of the museum?
Yeah, it's called the Shikoku Gallery, Shikoku Village Gallery.
And it's the collection of
Tatsuo, Tatsuo, Kato, Kato.
Hey, I had a question from Kathy Dawson. Is she here now? Kathy? No. Okay. So she wrote to me about 2 weeks ago, and I was delayed in responding to her, but she said do I know of exhibits of Bonnard that are on now? And I was just about to write to her and say that I don't know of any, and what she should do is to call up the Metropolitan Museum or the Guggenheim Museum or the Museum of Modern Art and speak to the information people there and find out if any paintings of Bonnard are on exhibit. It turned out I was delayed in sending the email to her, and the New York Times had a art section roundup. Right. And in that roundup, they mentioned or there was an ad for an exhibit at the Kimball Art Museum that is just about to open of Bonnard.
Oh,
Where they were.
Where is that?
It's in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Oh,
where they were having 75 Bonnard paintings.
Oh, my
oh
goodness.
my goodness.
So that museum is a masterpiece museum of architecture of the architect Louis Kahn.
Ah,
It is one of the best looking museums I've seen. You look them up online, the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, and it is
Sorry.
both very modern. The museum is very modern, but also very warm,
mm,
which is not that usual.
that's right.
So it is a very interesting museum. They have a very interesting collection, but they are putting this exhibit on. So you can either look up the article in the New York Times, or
Right.
just look up that museum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're going on to Kathy. Are these?
Um, and I guess I should have had it reversed. So I'm going to start with the right. Flowers in a crystal vase is 12 by 7/8 by 9 5/8. And lilacs and roses is 12 5/8 by 9 3/4. So these are very small. Manet painted a series of small flower paintings between 1881 and 1883. As his strength waned due to a very serious illness, the scale of his canvases diminished. The freshness of his paint application with such vigorous brushstrokes belie his weak physical condition. These two flower paintings were painted during that period. The one on the right, Flowers in a Crystal Vase, the pale pink roses are framed by dark red and violet flowers that form a beautiful arc with a few diagonals of gray-green stems to contrast with the rounded shape of the bouquet. The crystal vase with pink and green dashes of color echo the colors in the flowers, and the cool muted background color is in harmony with the cool tones of the bouquet. In Lilacs and Roses on the left, which very well might have been one of his last paintings, the brushstrokes are even more vigorous, the color stronger, and the values contrast sharper than in the previous painting. It's almost as if he summoned all of his strength to rally once again to paint this bouquet before he succumbed to his illness 2 months later. And that was it.
Good, good. So when we were talking about Manet previously, I mentioned that he is much of his painting is done alla prima.
Mm-hmm.
So alla prima, ALLAPRIMA. So alla prima painting is done at a shot, or done in 1 or 2 sittings. It's done with a certain kind of energy, and the paint is painted wet into wet, and the paint sort of sits there on the surface. So Sargent, his paintings, some of them, or many of them, have that kind of quality. And Rubens also, many of, or parts of his paintings have that quality of the sensuality of the paint, and the paint sort of just hanging there. So I wanted to say that about this. And I didn't realize they were as small as Francis described. I'm sorry,
Kathy.
Kathy described. I'm getting mixed up here. Kathy described. So it's very interesting, and the fact that the one on the left might have been his last painting.
Yeah. And many of these bouquets were gifts from visitors who came to see him while he was ill.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the next group I have is the next group I have is Francis, which is this. Francis? I thought I saw you here before. Oh, she might have
I'm
had.
here. I'm
Oh,
here.
good.
Sorry, I just forgot to unmute. So I haven't seen the Lilly family painting yet. I hope to in a few weeks. So I can't comment on any of the brushwork or even see what's small on the screen, but I was completely shocked by this painting. The mother has her hand on one child as if protecting her from the father, towards whom she's looking with such distaste that the painting is shocking in what it reveals. Were this a book, it would usually be allowed to be made public only after the members were deceased.
Well said. That's so interesting.
That standing child is looking directly at the painter as if she feels safe with him, or perhaps because his presence protects her from what might occur without an outside witness present. The seated child, perched better describes it than seated, looks slightly towards but not at the father, as if disassociating herself from the scene. The father is looking in the direction of the rest of the family, perhaps at that seated child. I can't tell from the online picture. Degas exhibiting this painting in public must have been scandalous to the viewers, not at all the usual idea of a family or portraits where a loving mother is looking fondly at her children. In a related way, interiors might show a woman who has had enough, who is packing to leave, while her husband or lover watches her preparations while barring the door. The single bed might indicate that the couple already had separate rooms, this being hers. The threat of violence is conveyed by the darkness, the man's gaze and posture. Is this a scene from Madame Bellelli's past, that she tried to leave him long ago and was prevented, even if not physically, by his force of will? As if this painting is in her mind, as in a dream where the essence may be true while the surroundings, colors, and placement are different.
Terrific, really terrific. You know, the Bellelli painting, he does not do a painting like this after. In other words, not even in terms of the psychology of this, but the grand scale of it. His paintings change after this one. And I believe that this painting was rolled up and it was found after he passed away in one of the rooms of his apartment. This is amazing thing, because from my end, when I see this painting, I feel that he should have continued in this direction. And he changes his direction entirely. In other words, this painting strikes me as a grand attempt at something. In other words, his version of a great historical painting or a great mythological painting. But you know, what can one say?
Simon,
Yes.
it was quite an epiphany last time when you commented that, and I don't know, I'd be interested in the source of it, that this was done while the wife was in mourning for the recent death of her father.
Yeah, yes, I read that about it.
I don't know that. This is the first time I've heard that.
No, and that's why the portrait behind her on the wall is her father who did pass away. So it is the story. That's why they're in black as well, because they're in mourning.
I see.
That adds a very different quality to the viewing, and we tend to project into things, you know, our own knowledge, our own sensibility. I made a comment in the chat about the burning boat.
Yes,
that-
yes, go ahead with that.
that this, to my eye, these were quotidian tasks of fishermen applying pitch to waterproof their craft. It's
Wow.
out of the water, and it's simply a maintenance task.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
very,
is,
very
Interesting.
we see the flames and think, well, this is some kind of calamity.
Yeah. Now, I want to just make sure that you understand what I said before about this painting. If you go to this exhibit, this is a really knockout painting, and it is a major painting. It has a lot of scale and dimensionality. And to me, it's a painting in which Degas attempted a great visual scene, a scene, even though it's quotidian and it's about a family, is a scene that is the equal of a mythological scene or historical painting. But this is the last time he does this. And it always struck me as like I would, if I could speak to a Degas scholar, I would love to know why. I just don't get it. But you know,
You mean why he didn't question? May I ask a question?
yeah,
What are you saying? You're saying why he didn't continue in this vein with his
Yes,
other works?
yes, that's what I'm
It
saying.
is monumental. It's
Yes, he
a
doesn't
beautiful
he
painting.
doesn't continue in a monumental direction. He continues, the work is more offhand, and I wouldn't say minor, but in a lower key. The work that follows
It's
is
lighter.
is more askance. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And
Carol? Carol?
I was going to say it's lighter, as we heard before about the ballet. His later work is lighter.
It's lighter, but the one on the right is not lighter. But he
No.
comes back to this, but still the Bolelli family, to me, it strikes me as a mystery. I mean, I can't really question his art or his work, but it strikes me as a mystery as to why he didn't pursue this.
I agree.
was-
He was 24, 25 when he painted that.
Yes,
Mm.
yes,
And it might be the largest painting he ever did. It's 6 feet by 8.
yes. But I think also, I think that he didn't get a big response to this painting. And that's the only thing that I can see that took place. So it struck me that why would he care about that? But people care about things, and it may not make sense, but they do care about things, myself included. But I don't understand that, and I'd love to be able to speak to a Degas expert to figure that out. But anyway, we have to go on. So this one is Mary.
Hi.
Okay.
What did you see?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, Mary, I split up the ones you sent me. So I split them up, Manet and then Beckmann
Okay.
later.
All right, great. Yeah, the piece on the left is called The Orchestra of the Opera, and it was painted in 1870. And so he was born in 1834. So he was about 36 or 37 years old when he painted it. It's oil on canvas. It's 22 inches by 17 inches approximately. In the 1860s, we started to see the break from traditional portrait painting, and this is a really fine example of sort of just a moment in time. And central to it is the bassoonist, who was a friend of his, Desiree Daher, and there's a bunch of people in the orchestra who he knew, who were, people known then, cellist
named Mansfield, and the double bassoon bass was a man named Joff. And in the very upper left-hand corner, there's the composer Chabrier. It's, though not a formal posing, it's very study and focus. The orchestra themselves, it's very, the black and white really stand out with a lot of lines, a lot of, the white shirt of the bassoonist and the music sheets behind him. It's a little hard to see in this picture itself, but the larger, if it's blown up, you could see the bows catching the light and the silver on the bassoon. It's all kind of catching the light. It seems to be very focused on the lines you see in the chair, and the whole kind of orchestra is kind of cased in with this gently descending soft velvet that's like catching the light along the bottom. It's kind of cropped on the sides, but as it rises, you see the head of the stock of the double bass is kind of reaching up into the stage. And just looking at the orchestra, for me, it feels so defined. It's almost photographic, and you can really feel the music and the vibration. The eyes of all the musicians are really focused, and there's a visceral feel in the hands of the bassoonist. But then as we head up into the top part of the painting, it's like the stage where it totally shifts into the brush strokes that he reveals the kind of visual beauty of the dancers. It's very ephemeral and soft, light movement with glistening colors. There's a loss of definition, and it's like a blur, like a blizzard of motion. It's like the colors of the heavens in the upper realm, and I feel like it's like a lift into the spiritual. And I feel there's a strong contrast between the auditory and the visual and the masculine and the feminine.
Excellent.
And the focused coordination of the musicians and the lightness and the transience of the dancers. He was, like I said, at 35 or 36 years old when he painted it, and it's just, to me, a remarkable composition. And then the next picture is Manet, and he painted that in 1879, and he was about 47 years old when he painted this, and it's called The Café Concert. And Baudelaire, the great poet, called Manet the painter of modern life, and this was exhibited in a show in 1880. And I feel like it really is about modern times. I know we're in a postmodern time, but it's very much the reality of modern life to me. And it's a scene at the Cabaret de Richthofen. In the upper left-hand corner, you see the performer Elsa de Polonaise, and it's just a glimpse of her in the mirror. But the central kind of main thing catching one's eye is the gentleman in the front. He's kind of a bourgeois, elegant fellow, and he's really just caught in the moment. He's kind of facing into the light of the performance, and his profile, his gaze are all very fresh. The strokes in the painting are incredibly alive. Even though there's this kind of roughness to it, it feels very much real. And let's see. It's, again, cropped. It's like a photograph. And though maybe he took photograph, but he also took sketches and went back and worked this in his studio. But I feel like he was also making a statement about society at that time with the different people. And, you know, the man's hat, I really love the blackness of the hat, the sheen of it. And right behind it is sort of the smoky background of the room. And on his left is the working class girl who's smoking a cigarette. And there's a beer glass in front of her. That's kind of like a lantern of light. The two beers look like lanterns to me. And most significantly, I think, is the character of the waitress. And she just seems so confidently poised with her hand on her hip, and she's like pouring the light into her with this lantern of beer, and her hair is kind of dissolving into the gray. You can feel one can feel the fission in the air, the light splitting apart and falling on all the surfaces. No one is in contact with each other, rather they are all alone together. It just seems very much alive, fresh, and brilliant.
Yeah, very good, very good. Just to get back to what I was saying before about Degas, look at the difference between the Bellelli family and this painting on the left. So this is the direction that he took after the Bellelli family. And this is super, but it's a different key than the Bellelli family. So the next one is Len, which is this one.
Very good. Okay. On the left, we have The Damned by Felix Nussbaum, 1944. Oil on canvas, 40 by 60 inches. And on the right, Paris Society by Max Beckmann, 1931. Oil on canvas and roughly the same size, 43 by 69 inches. An artist is a magician. When they reflect what they see, they are a mirror. But when they transform what they see, they are an alchemist.
Hey, could you say that again? Read that again.
An artist is a magician. When they reflect what they see, they are a mirror. But when they transform what they see, they are an alchemist. It is the alchemy, the magical transformation, that causes us to stop, draw a breath, and consider who and why we are. We see different degrees of alchemy in these two paintings caused by different pressures. The way coal under pressure may or may not be transformed into a diamond.
Super.
Felix Nussbaum painted The Damned under the duress of the hunted. He was prey for the surrounding pack of wolves, and he knew it. It bleeds onto his canvas. He and 11 other earthly companions stand in a desolate urban wasteland. Instead of white flags of surrender, black flags of annihilation fly from faceless buildings. Nussbaum's fellow travelers are a nightmarish landscape of the human condition. From left to right, they bleed resignation, terror, grief, abandonment, despair, withdrawal, furtiveness, emaciation, weariness, despondency, exhaustion, and dread. No one looks into the eyes of another. They are assembled, but each is alone. The dead mock the living as walking skulls bring fresh coffins to carry away any of the dozen denizens who might succumb at any moment to unfathomable catastrophe. Max Beckmann painted Paris society at the invitation of the Parisian German embassy. It is the 1931 bookend to Nussbaum's 1944. It shows the city's elite in the year a German financial crisis paved the way to Hitler's rise. A time of change, not duress. This grouping, which also numbers 12, gathers under more congenial circumstances. They are holders of wealth and position. Their dress and accoutrement speak to breeding and status. Yet through Beckmann's eyes, they are smaller and more tedious than their costume conveys. Like Nussbaum's damned, they look past, through, and around each other. When they do face one another, it is with eyes shut. Despite the parlor's close confine, they are distanced from one another. Everything in their pose and posture is eminently mild. Mild amusement, mild interest, mild attraction, mild disdain. A man in the background throws his head back in an anachronistic burst of laughter. Separate and apart from the others, he enjoys a private joke, perhaps at their expense. The esprit de corps of this assemblage is ennui. They feign interest in their surroundings and each other. Different times, different degrees of reflection, different degrees of alchemy. I leave it to you to speculate on the significance, if any, of a gathering of 12.
Well, Len, I think you're outdoing yourself.
Yes, great.
This is
Yeah.
a
Wow, that was just terrific.
stirring piece of writing. You have an alter ego awaiting you somewhere, and it's in the direction of writing, I would say. Really astounding. And the opening, the setup for the opening is the preface to your theme, and very thought-provoking. Len, did you see this exhibit of Beckmann?
No, but I want to make a point of seeing it. Yeah, I'm sure.
Because this is one of the best things in the exhibit, and there are many good things in that exhibit. Yeah, it's a really super show. Compliments big time.
I have
So
one.
the next one I have is Ron, which is this one.
Good. Thanks, Simon. I've chosen two works by Felix Nussbaum. On the right, entitled Still Life with Cat. It's from 1940. And on the left, Organ Grinder from 1944. I believe the medium of both the oil on canvas, the dimensions were not available to me. We'll focus first on Still Life with Cat. It is a still life, in French, nature morte, dead nature, or dead objects from nature. The painting presents an array of objects in an ambiguous setting, part table surface, part landscape. The upper right of the composition is obscured by a towel draped across the face of the composition. The palette is dominated by cool, crepuscular blues and grays. The vertical composition is divided into thirds. The left third is defined by a cutout image of a two-dimensional cat with elevated tail and drooping whiskers set on a base and leaning against a dark wooden post. A white vessel defines the right-hand third of the composition. Behind it stands a shiny gray pitcher without a handle and a clock face, single hour hand. The pointer of the hand stands between 12 and 1 o'clock. The clock face leans against a stone with a peaked top. To the left of the dark post is a distant background where a metallic pediment supports a biomorphic form suggestive of the stump of a denuded and mutilated tree. To the right of the post, in the upper center of the composition, are additional denuded and mutilated tree branches. Organ grinder is an image to which we gave considerable attention at the end of the last class session. I want to call attention to the field green coat with a button draped over the top and left corner of the organ at which the artist sits. He wears an expression of placid reflection. His right index finger points downward toward the bones arrayed on the front of the roughly cut box. The bulbous ends of the bones are cut with mouths, as on organ pipes. In the street behind the artist, there are multiple tattered banners, some on broken staffs. The banners are all black. The sky, as with the still life, is crepuscular. As we consider Felix Nussbaum painting hiding, I'm intrigued to examine what might be hiding in his painting. Between the time of painting still life with cat and organ grinder, Nussbaum was imprisoned by the fascists, escaped, and managed to return to paint in hiding images of his experience in the French Saint-Cyprien concentration camp. In looking closely at the still life, I was impressed with autobiographical references and the sense of foreboding. The title draws our attention to the image of the cat. It is the 1930s cartoon cat, Felix, the artist's name, and it is clearly a cat in a posture of fright with uplifted back and tail and disordered whiskers. The trees in the background are recognized as another reference to his name, which translates as nut tree. Here also the tree forms are distressed and mutilated. The draped towel is another element in several of Nussbaum's self-portraits. I wondered about the position of the clock hands. In German, midnight is called 1:30 or 1:30. With a stretch, the sound suggests the German word Hilf or help, but little help is implied as the face of the clock leans against what seems likely to be a gravestone. The white vessel has something of the appearance of an antique eye cup used to wash out the eyes with fluid. If only such a device could rid the mind of images. Without knowing Nussbaum's political philosophy, I'm also struck by the presence of the black cat and the black banners. Both are associated with the international anarchist movement. The coat across the top of the organ is the color of the traditional German army uniform. Pointedly, it is not being worn by the artist as the bleak cold of evening descends on the scene. I'd read that Nussbaum was fascinated with and strongly identified with the image of the organ grinder man in the last episode of Franz Schubert's song cycle Winterreise, or Winter's Journey. The organ grinder, who despite rejection, poverty, and cold, persists in cranking out his tune. In the last stanza, the singer, and perhaps Nussbaum, asked, "Strange old man, shall I go with you? Will you turn your hurdy-gurdy to my songs?"
Yeah, beautifully written, really beautiful, very specific and expressive.
Well, it became very fascinating to me to consider that still life. And there's a great deal in there to wonder about and to try to absorb the meaning of.
Yes. Okay, so the next one that I have is Anna, which is this one. Anna?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, great.
Okay. On the left, Max Beckmann's self-portrait from 1917. It's 80 by 60 centimeters. And on the right, Felix Nussbaum, its self-portrait with Jewish identity card, probably 1943, 56 by 49 centimeters. Two German self-portraits painted 26 years apart. The Beckmann painted in response to World War I, and the Nussbaum painted while he lived in hiding from the Nazis. Both paintings reflect the horror of war, and in each image, it is the eyes that inform us of the artist's pain. Beckmann is looking to the right as if he is confronting the war in which he has been a soldier. Nussbaum looks right at us, the viewers. He's appearing hopelessly resigned to an inevitable and horrifying fate. Both paintings express devastation at what is occurring, and yet in both paintings there are small signs of defiance. Beckmann fills the frame of the rectangle, while Nussbaum has shrunk to the lower half. Beckmann wears a red scarf, perhaps a challenge to the brutality of war. Nussbaum retains his hat and coat with the Star of David prominently displayed, as if ready to go somewhere. While Beckmann's left hand exhibits a wound, Nussbaum's left hand holds firmly onto his Jewish identity card. Note too the framing of each man. The window with the symbol of the cross is behind Beckmann. Nussbaum is stuck in front of a wall, while above a dark cloud floats in a dark sky as windows of a house look towards what is going on below. A dead tree stands under the cloud, perhaps representing the loss of life. Both faces express unease. Beckmann's eyes are open wide, as are Nussbaum's, the hyper-vigilant look in the human face when there is fear. Beckmann bites his lip, while Nussbaum's mouth is firmly closed, each mouth silently expressing horror. Notice too the colors, how Beckmann's shirt is white and not too dissimilar from the window and the air outside, as well as the white pallor of his face. Nussbaum's face is tan and drawn and not too different from the color of his coat with the upturned collar. Contrast works effectively via the red scarf and the dark frame, as well as the red vase and the green foliage in the still life that Beckmann appears to be painting. And yet, despite their upset, discomfort, and silence, both artists are yelling out loud, with the picture screaming outrage at the situation in which they find themselves. It is Beckmann's painting with its red scarf and red vase, which possibly can picture a future. Nussbaum only quietly hints at this with the blossoms of one small tree standing next to the dead trunk. Yet perhaps that light in the window also offers a moment of consolation. In the end, it is the painting that is the consolation. These two images each express humanity's dismay at the impact of war. While one artist will move on to other self-portraits, the other artist leaves us with this gift. The artist will not survive, but the painting will live on.
Extremely well written. Really, really great. Big heart, a lot of heart. Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice comparison.
Really,
Yeah.
really well done.
Mhm.
Very poignant. And they're not big paintings either. I think there would be like 16 by 20, 18 by 22, something like that. Not big at all, but explosive. So the next one is, I think, Anne Marie.
Ooh.
Oh no, Alan.
Yeah, that's mine. That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay, good. Sorry.
I still have a little bit of a cough, but I will do my best here.
Oh, is that a problem?
No, I shouldn't be. I should be able to make it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So on the left is Max Beckmann, a painting called The Night, which was done sometime between 1918 and 1919, which is oil on canvas. It's about 52 inches by 60 inches. And on the on the right, of course, is Felix Nussbaum's The Damned, done between 1943 and 44. And it's 40 inches by 61 inches. So they're similar in size, although not exactly in proportion. Beckmann's The Night depicts a shocking, chaotic, and strong interaction of distorted people, some of whom are suffering and some who are inflicting pain. The man on the left, who may be Beckmann himself, is being hung. His head is bent forward, and his left arm is being twisted by the man to his right. Further to the right, in the foreground, a woman, possibly the man's wife, has her hands tied to what looks like the back of a chair. Her legs are split and her bottom is exposed. Possibly she had been raped. The child on the extreme right, perhaps the daughter of the couple being tortured, is watching fearfully at what is going on. There's a great deal of movement to this scene. The red coloring adds noise to the scene, particularly from the interior of the tuba on the floor. There is not much physical depth to this painting. It's pretty flat. The bodies of the figures seem woven together and in your face. This work was painted at the end of World War I, so it may be Beckmann's reflection of the German society at the end of the war. And The Damned by Felix Nussbaum captures the horrible despicableness that can occur in this world. Contrary to Beckmann's The Night, The Damned depicts the current time, and Nussbaum is in this somber scene. Most of the people appear resigned to their destiny. They have been through the suffering, and now it will finally come to an end. The red-haired woman on the extreme left, her eyes wide and her mouth open, shows a combination of anger and fright. Her hands are raised, and her left hand appears to be pointing to herself as if saying, "I am a human being." The man near her is wiping away tears. The woman at the extreme right may be praying. Nussbaum, near the center of the mass, appears to be looking out of the painting, perhaps at himself. The people are queued up, waiting to give up their mortality. Behind them, caskets are being taken away by ghostly figures dressed in black. In the background, we see a brick wall enclosing the area. In the rear is a narrow street with black flags displayed. The sky is reddish and gray and looks sinister. Although the subject is cold, there seems to be a warm calm and quietness to the painting, and perhaps a feeling of hope despite what is about to happen. We are fortunate that this painting exists and the others painted during the last years of Nussbaum's life. There are many photographs of how Jews and others were treated, tortured, and disposed of during the Holocaust. However, these paintings give us much more than photographs. They are the expression of a man's soul. Nussbaum has left us a unique, albeit dark, legacy.
Yeah, beautifully written, really excellent, super well written, and your choice here is terrific, the two of them together. Alan, did you know the building that was designed as the Museum of Nussbaum?
No.
Had you seen that building?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen photographs of it?
Probably have at some point.
Yeah. I somehow in my correspondence today with my German friend, he mentioned a museum that's in Berlin called the Jewish Museum, and it's done by the same architect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it looked very interesting. I think that these two paintings are so interesting. They don't seem to tell you what to think or what to feel. They're unclear, enigmatic, and deep, very deep, to me.
There are some art historical references in the Beckmann here to Goya's Garroted Man, and also The Miseries of War, both by Jacques Callot and by Goya later.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Alan, the one on the right, actually, I think I've seen both these paintings, but the one on the right more recently at the Neue Gallery. But I don't think it's part of their collection, but it was brought in for an exhibit. It's a very strong painting.
Is that exhibit still on? You know?
No, the Beckmann is on now.
I see.
Yeah, that is on, and it's a very good show. Okay, so the next one I have is Anne Marie, which is this one.
Right.
Oh, love them. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, I'm presenting self-portraits of Felix Nussbaum and Max Beckmann as they see themselves as artists. They both did many self-portraits in their lifetime. The figure was central to their art form, as well as expressing the human predicament. As artists, they painted their experience, their truth, their time. And as we know, their time was one of the worst in humankind. Starting with Max Beckmann, he painted, it's called Self-Portrait in Olive and Brown. He did it in 1945. It's an oil. It's approximately 24 inches by 20. And Max Beckmann painted over 80 self-portraits in his lifetime. His art represents reality, and the self-portrait provides an exploration of one's inner reality. Beckmann was looking out, but also looking in. This portrait expresses a defiance and a confidence in who he is as an artist. There is a seriousness in their expression and a directness with his gaze. He is telling us that he has survived as an artist through all the misery in the world, its pain and suffering. The bold colors, the black outline defined his the bold colors, the black outline define his boundaries. His copper face shimmers against the yellow background. The gold copper skin tone make him look to me almost like a sculpture, maybe expressing a steeliness, a hardness to his character. Yet there is a yellow glow behind him, highlighting all that he is. I'd like to add some words from the artist at the end of my thoughts. And in October 1914, Max Beckmann wrote, "My will to live is stronger than ever at the moment. Even though I have already experienced dreadful things and died myself with them several times. Yet the more one dies, the more intensely one lives. I have been drawing that protects one from death and danger."
So well, Anne Marie, that's so well done. It's so well done, especially ending with the quote. Really well done.
I think it's important to hear their voice.
Yeah, keep going.
Felix Nussbaum's his painting is the self-portrait at easel, which he did in August of 1943, approximately around the time of The Damned that we've seen twice before now. This painting reflects the duality of Nussbaum's being, the inner creative spirit and the dark reality of life. The first duality is presented in where this piece was painted, in an attic, isolated, hiding, expressing oneself freely. We see the light and shadow as distinct. Next, we see the figure standing with the towel over his shoulder with a sharply focused gaze, showing a slight smile with the smoking pipe representing something of his artistic, intellectual self, defiant, confident, challenging. But there's also a mask behind him, one that shows an anxious expression and ghostly white color, perhaps of fear. The duality of his existence. This is the duality of his existence. Then we see his palette with the earth colors, red, blue, brown, yellow. But next to his palette are bottles of chemicals, poison with the skull and crossbones, another with the word nostalgie, I think, meaning nostalgia, and souffrance, which I can't pronounce, but means suffering. All ingredients in his paintings. I see this self-portrait what Simon describes as the artist transcending life. It is a testament to the human spirit. And a quote that I'd like to end from Felix Nussbaum is, "When I perish, do not allow my paintings to die with me. Show them to the people."
That's so well done. Anne-Marie, compliments, so well done. Really. Anne-Marie, you know, in Beckmann's painting, you see all those black lines? When I was in art school, I was told never to use black, never to paint with black. And it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Paint with anything. Paint with your nose. Paint with your feet. It doesn't really matter. Okay? It's so stupid. Okay? Look at all those black lines. Right?
Right.
And the juxtaposition of the two that you chose is
Yeah,
wonderful.
very nice. Yeah.
Really exceptional.
Mhm.
Okay,
I
so
love
the next one I have is Lucy, which is this one.
Oh, good luck.
Lucy?
I'm just seeing whether it shows what I saw when I wrote the essay. Because it's smaller than what I saw when I wrote the essay, but it'll do. Okay.
Lucy, just shift the screen a little bit so I could see you.
How much
Yes,
did you see?
that's good. That's good. That's good.
Right. Okay. I have chosen paintings reflecting distress, anxiety, and morbidity from the two wars by the German artists Max Beckmann and Felix Nussbaum. Aside from the fact that both paintings examined here use up their entire canvases and feel as if they could continue endlessly with the subject matter, there is no similarity between them. Beckmann was 20 years older than Nussbaum. Beckmann was considered an expressionist painter with early painting influenced by Impressionism. Nussbaum was of the Surrealist camp. Die Nacht is from the years 1918 to 1919. It is an oil painting on a small canvas, 52 3/8 inches by 60 1/4 inches, and is now in the Kunstsammlung Nordheim Westfalen Düsseldorf Museum. Beckmann's harrowing experience as a medic during World War I transformed his art into one of compressed angular arrangements, peopled with the disaffected and disenfranchised in Germany's post-war society. He captured the doomed Weimar Republic with cynicism, chaos, and a wild cast of characters. During this period, he also made many dry point etchings, one of which was the same picture as the above painting. But for me, the painting is the most intense. The subject matter is a chaotic, terrorized scene. Beckmann is the model for the man in the noose. The colors are dark grays and browns, lighted from somewhere, with occasional reds. Angularity throughout expresses the violence, threatening the edges of the canvas. In viewing both the print and the painting, one must take more time to study and be shocked by the painting. The colors contributing more to the emotional aspect. Felix Nussbaum was born in 1904 and died in 1944 at Auschwitz. The experiences of losing his homeland and its persecution because he was Jewish did not dampen his will to paint. He received a scholarship to study in Rome at the Deutsche Academy in 1932. While there, he learned of the Nazis coming to power, and he never returned to Germany, having packed all his prior paintings to accompany him. From Italy, he emigrated to Belgium via France in 1935. And even though he failed to get a work permit in Brussels and experienced financial hardship and anxiety, the next 5 years were among his most artistically productive. When Germany invaded Belgium, he was sent to the Saint-Cyprien camp in southern France. But he escaped back to Brussels, where he and his wife went into hiding at the home of an art dealer. And here he painted scenes relating to the camp of fear and desperation. Let's see. The Triomphe des Todes is from around 1941. And it is at the Neue Galerie. Although maybe the thing I was reading was mentioning the exhibit, which was a while back. I wasn't clear
Yes.
where
Yes,
it was, whether it's there permanently or whether it's only temporarily.
temporarily. Temporarily.
Okay. All right, so this painting is very carefully painted if you compare it, say, to Beckmann. The height of it is 39.3 inches, over 3 feet tall. It's a big painting. With no happy or rich colors. However, there is plenty of contrast, especially with the distributed whites, rusts, and deep black, to emphasize the parade of the dead, announcing their arrival to heaven or hell, with horns accompanied by a drum set with a deep black mallet, and an organ with an organist holding his hand up to his right ear, beside the noisy horn played by the angel of death. As was mentioned in one description of those late morbid works, there was often a little bit of humor embedded. Note also the sharp-pointed items, so distinctly painted, the looming kites leading the way to the afterlife. Also, part of the devastation are the sharply square building remains, as well as the detritus of war, which includes books, a piece of music, a sculpted head, damaged small paintings of a woman and a man, perhaps Nussbaum. The kites are part of a dark storm behind them, but you can also see light on the horizon, as if there might be hope in what we are experiencing, and perhaps an end to all this horror. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very well done. Lucy, very well done, and your best piece of writing so far.
Okay.
Really, really well done.
I can't remember what I wrote
very,
before.
is what I would call very there.
Oh,
Very there.
well, you can't really avoid it, these paintings, not being there.
Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah, you have to be there with these paintings. You can't
Yes,
help.
yes, that's true. That's true. Let's go to the next one, which is Rita.
Okay.
Rita, is this one.
Yes. These are two paintings by Felix Nussbaum. And I will repeat the quote from Anne-Marie, said by Felix Nussbaum. When I perish, do not allow my pictures to die with me. Show them to the people. Without the deeply poignant and disturbing historical context of Felix Nussbaum's career, this handsome family is merely beautifully rendered charm and serenity. It is a tightly packed horizontal canvas, emphasizing the family's affectionate, close bonds with each other and with their tame and well-fed cat. A perfect summer vacation at the shore. The day is glorious. The azure sky has barely a cloud. The sea behind them sends cool breezes. Their hair and gently bronzed bodies curve in the glow of health. Just picked flowers spill onto the veranda's table and perfume the salty air. Well-groomed, fashionably and brightly dressed for leisure, seemingly assimilated into modern middle-class society with its opportunities and rewards. Shoulders comfortably sloped in relaxation, they look with cheerful, clear-eyed confidence to continued good fortune. It is a moment frozen in time before all the great expectations of assimilated Jews have been dashed, the family smashed, the future destroyed. Thus, Felix Nussbaum, with paintbrush, becomes the chronicler of his surreal times. That once bright future has been cast backwards to medieval, even ancient times of brutality and apocalyptic doom. His people dragged to the camps, Nussbaum as Orgelmann, the organ grinder, Nussbaum's alter ego, paints in anguish of anguish. The pipes of his instrument have turned to bone. The music has stopped. The colors have faded to tones of Nazi brown, except for the splashes of blood. The sliver of stormy sky is darkly ominous. The shredded black flags reek of piracy and plague and death. Claustrophobic vertical lines and sharp angles of deserted, decaying buildings press inward, soon to crumble upon him. The Greco-Roman pillars of society are collapsing. The village has become a charnel house. Only one man with haunted eyes and the sloped shoulders of defeat is left to tell the tale. And he too will soon be added to the pile of bones, with only his paintings to bear witness.
Well, Rita, again, you're outdoing yourself. And I think you've been very inspired by these two paintings, and it's a very beautiful and expressive, deeply expressive piece of writing. Rita, did you know this artist before this class?
I did know some of his more political type paintings, but I did not know the one on the left that I wrote about.
Right.
It was nice.
I'm very struck by how serious everyone has responded to this work, and it really seems to me to have brought a lot out. As far as I can see, there are two students left, which are Frank and Mary, and Kristen, who is not here tonight. So what I'd like to
And
do,
Kathy, I sent my work in. Kathy Dawson.
Yes, I understand. Kathy,
Okay.
I couldn't get to yours because of the Renee and I set this up last night, and you didn't get it till today. So
Okay.
my suggestion is that for Frank, Mary, Kristen, and Kathy, we'll continue next week. I wanted to just end by saying something to all of you. So I'm going to put this back to all of you. So this is something I was thinking about since the last class, not this class, but the last class. So I had two thoughts about this. It had to do with two insights that I had for myself about what you're doing. And I wanted to share this with you. My insight number one is that this class is so autobiographical. This class is me. In other words, what I'm presenting is my journey. So you're listening to my conversations in my head. It seems obvious, but I only thought of it last week. So I'm sharing that with you. The second thing I thought of, and I also want to share this because it just came to me, is many of you seem to be looking slower and slower at the art, slower and slower, and taking it in and taking it in. And then all of a sudden it came to me why this is such a good thing to do. Because it seems to me that in doing that, you are more conscious, more conscious. What does more conscious mean? To me, more conscious means more alive. Okay? So the more conscious you are, the more alive you are. The more you see, the more conscious you are, the more alive you are. The more alive you are, the more you are cheating your life on this earth. You're getting your money's worth. You're getting more than your money's worth. So here's to continued slow looking, okay, for all of you. And that's my two insights. And I'll see you next week.
Yep.
Okay. This is great.
Very nice.
Great.
Thank you, Simon.
Really
Thank you,
great.
Simon.
Great.
Thank you, Simon.
All right. So
Thanks, everyone.
I'll see you next week.
Thank you,
and-
everybody.
Okay, we'll continue next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Really terrific.
It was great. Thank you.
Terrific.
I was wondering how this is going to come out, what your thoughts would come out to be.
Rita, I wanted to say I'll never think of that brown as other than Nazi brown ever again. That was so appropriate. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's great.
Rita, excellent. Really. Thank you. Great.
Always.
Great.
I'd like
Good
to
night.
say that I'm learning to think in a different way. I don't write well, but this is giving me inspiration to continue to write.
That's-
I wondered if Simon wanted me to do the Max Beckmann next time.
What?
I didn't do this one yet.
You could do it.
I did the one
Yes,
before.
Yes, you could do it. Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely.
fine.
Definitely. Yeah.
But
yeah.
thank you all for your insights. I
Yeah.
think it's wonderful.
Good night. Good night.
Rita, what did you think of my two insights?
I think they were very good, but I think we're cheating death, not cheating life, you know.
Cheating life. Cheating life. Yes.
Say
Yes.
cheating death. Maybe
No,
Yes. Cheating death, actually. Actually. And I'm all for cheating. In that manner. In that manner.
Right. Good night.
Good night.
And
Good night.
Thank
When
you, Simon.
Good night.
just was that it was impossible to analyze Felix Nussbaum without the context of his life, because first of all, I think that's the way he wanted us to analyze his life's work. I think it was important for him that we see everything in the context of what was happening. So just something I was thinking about.
Yeah. Wonderful group of people.
Yes.
Really very serious and good humor too. Take care of yourself.
Hi to Renee.
Thanks.
Good
Rebecca,
night.
you just made it under the wire.
Yes, how about that?
Very good.
I am enjoying it. It's making me be far more observant, and I think that you're saying about seeing, I see, but I don't think I think of it in the context of sentences or in the context of putting art into that kind of use of words. And words are extremely important. So
Well,
I'm learning things.
But you may see it, but not put it into words. But you're responding to it, but not in terms of words.
No, I'm not. And I don't usually respond to art in that way. Or my thinking about art is that I'm extremely involved in it. It's always been a part of me, but I've never really thought of it in this kind of context. And I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks. So you could do another one on Beckmann, Schad, and Nussbaum if you want.
I have not done them.
You could if you want to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
For next week.
For next week. Yes.
So you have to send me the 2 images.
I will do that.
Okay. All right.
I already picked one, so.
Okay. So take care of yourself.
Thank you.
I'll see you next week. Okay. And
Sounds good.
bring along next week a 9-year-old.
I have to hire a 9-year-old, right?
Okay. Take care of yourself.
Oh, I wanted to say for our personal things that we're doing, I need the images.
Let me leave that.
Okay.
Because
We'll
I
talk
want to
about
make
it
this
later.
a recording. I want to make this a recording.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, but
Bye.
yeah. Okay. So I'm going to stop